Dublin is the country's biggest port. Last year, it handled 5.5 million tonnes of cargo and 6,000 ships. About half of its trade is cross-channel. The rest is overseas and takes place in an area most people have never seen, behind the gates of the deep-sea docks down at the end of the North Wall. This film is about the deep-sea dockers, tough men with a hard history, men who now face an overwhelming challenge to their livelihood and who, at this critical time, are naturally suspicious.
And still you should have got permission now. You say he's got permission now.
Yeah, I'm not lying. I'm not going to tell you that again.
It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter what the
You don't believe me?
I do believe
it is us. We're not threatening your job. They can't threaten your job.
I know you're not threatening our job. I know, but if you can help us. I can't see he's been able to help us.
The challenge these men face is the rapid onslaught of new techniques which have revolutionised the transport industry. The challenge of mechanisation and rationalisation which will soon make the traditional dockers as obsolete as coachmen or lamplighters.
No timber, we're getting no work done.
The dockers fear the future and at first were reluctant to allow us to make this film, but in the end they agreed that publicity might not be a bad thing.
You've been all working on this ship, the Romney. It's an English ship from Brazil with corn. What kind of a load has it?
It's timber and what's the type of bag?
Bags
Timber
of
cotton
cement.
seal. Cotton seal. Timber and cotton seal.
Have you full gangs working on that ship?
Well, short units, 4 short units.
Because bags are easy to handle.
Yes, they go on transport X ship.
There's nothing strange about that.
No.
Now, what happens if the ship that comes in a few days' time when you've finished unloading this one, if it happens to be a container ship, say like the city of Antwerp?
We'd have one long unit.
Yeah. Of about 20 men.
Of 19 men.
19. And would there be work on a smallish container ship like the city of Antwerp for those 19 men?
Yes, they have to
yes.
They must employ, that's the full quote, that's a full gang.
You must employ a full unit.
Oh, I know, that's the way it has to be at the moment. But is that full unit, in fact, fully employed all the time?
Yes, they're all men are working, the whole lot are working.
Isn't the crucial thing about this, when container ships come in, and decasualisation comes as well, if it comes, that the work will not be there, and that many of you will become redundant.
I think myself containerisation is a menace to us. That's what I think anyway. But these men think another thing.
Containerisation does menace the docker's livelihood, but just what are containers? They are simply large boxes of standard sizes and are made from steel and aluminium. They are 8 feet square and can be 10, 20, 30 or even 40 feet long. They can be used time and time again. They can readily be transferred from ships to lorries and can be filled with practically anything. Because they are standardized in size, they are easy to handle. The undeniable logic of containers has revolutionized the transport industry. It led to the development of the container ship. The hulls of these ships are cellular in construction. The containers are secured by steel angles fitted vertically into the hold. These girders form cells into which the containers are stacked vertically. Traditionally, ships are loaded and unloaded by gangs of 19 men, as many gangs per ship as are necessary. But container ships don't need nearly as many men as traditional vessels. And because the dockers are tenaciously holding on to their jobs, overmanning is inevitable, frequent and expensive.
Before containers came, how many gangs would have been needed to have discharged it?
What cargo you made? 3 or 4 gangs.
About 3 gangs of men.
And now you're doing it with only one?
There's only one gang.
One gang now, one
The ultimate in container handling can be seen at Waterford, at the container terminal owned by the Bell Shipping Group. The logic of containers demands that the boxes should be handled by one organisation from destination to destination, a total integration of land and sea transport in one operation. The Bell Group has its own trucks, terminals, ships, and even a computer to monitor the international movement of thousands of containers, each costing £600. The fully automated installation at Waterford means that one man in the cab of the enormous mobile gantry crane can load and unload a ship almost by himself. Apart from office staff, only 8 men are needed to operate this container terminal. This capital-intensive handling system can deal with one container every 90 seconds. There is next to no manual labour. This is part of the freight war on the Irish Sea, a commercial battle to carry an annual £1,000 million worth of cargo. The Dublin-based and family-owned Bell Shipping Group is headed by Managing Director George Hallway, a whiz-kid of the international transport revolution.
Here we get to the stage where it's going to be rather difficult for you to believe me, because we've seen Waterford operating in the mechanised system that we have set up there with a total team of 8 men. Let us take a slightly more conservative figure for an equivalent type of high-speed terminal in Dublin and call it 12 men. We're talking about possibly 5 or 6 units, each employing 12 men for the total labour content. We're probably talking about a minimum of 2 more labour units for handling the remnants of loose traffic which won't be going through these terminals. We could theoretically, and this may be very far from the practice, we could theoretically be down to a labour force requirement of, let's say, 7 units of 12 men for the total trade of the port, cross-channel and deep sea.
7 12s?
7 12s is the theoretical minimum, but even if one adds 50% to that and calls it 11 12s, we're still talking about 132 men out of a total labour force at the moment of something just under 2,000. So the problem of redundancy that we're facing, no matter how accurate my calculations may be, is something quite terrifying.
And it's hard facts like that that clutch at the future of Dublin dockers. 132 men to replace 2,000, of whom almost 1,000 are deep-sea dockers, the rest cross-channel. The deep-sea men are still employed in the old ignominious way, by attending at curious daily ceremonies called reads, at which the employers, the stevedore companies, pick out the men they need for whatever amount of work is available. If a docker is called, he's lucky, he's working. If he isn't, he can try again, tomorrow. The work is entirely casual, no guarantees, no basic wage. Dockers are sensitive about these reads, which are no more than hiring fares. They were the one thing they would not let us film.
But as it is now, as you can see, everybody here is working. There's 18 of us here and we're all working.
But I wouldn't say any one of you is breaking your back.
No, thank God.
No.
Well, we broke our backs years ago and broke our hearts.
What do you feel when you see the changes? Because I think you've been at it a long time.
I'm at it since 1917.
How was it then?
It was very hard. And you had to work, and if you didn't work, you weren't employed the next morning.
The way it was when I come down here, it was rough that you had a pen on people giving jobs. You didn't know you wouldn't get a job. And the way it was that if you weren't a good worker, you weren't wanting. You had to dig coal boats, fossil boats, anything you could lay your hands on.
But you still go to these reads in the morning and you stand like cattle hoping that somebody will
It gets diabolical in this age.
What do you think of it?
I think it's diabolical that we should have to stand there in this present day and age and stand in front of any man and be picked out like sheep, as it were. I mean, that thing has gone back 2,000 years.
2,000?
2,000 years. I mean, our Lord done that at the vineyards. He come along and he picked out everybody at the gate. Well, our Lord didn't do it. I mean, whoever owned the vineyard. Yes, exactly. But I think that in this day and age, that shouldn't happen.